Thank you. Thank you for that. Good evening, by the way. Well, here we are again. Let's sing a little bit. Vanan Bhavana Kumar Kalabana Pavaka Gyanagan Jasu Hridaya Vasai Ram Sarachabadha Atulita Baladhama Himashala Badeham Dinujaran Krishna Jnani Nama Graganyam Sakala Guna Nidhanam Vanaranam Madisham Raghupati Priya Bhaktam Vatajatam Namah Koshpadi Krito Ardisham Mashiki Katarakshasam Ramayana Mahamala Ratnam Andina Lakmajam Anjana Nandanam Viram Janaki Shokanashanam Kapisa Ande Lanka Bhankaram Vilanga Sindho Salilam Salilam Ashokavahin Janakatma Jaya Adathanim Dadahalanka Namamitam Pranjali Pranjanim Manojavam Marututulya Vegam Jitendriyam Buddhimatam Vardishtam Vatatmajam Vanarayutamukyam Shri Ramadutam Sharanam Prapadye Shri Ramadutam Sharanam Prapadye Shri Ramadutam Sharanam Prapadye Shri Ramadutam Sharanam Prapadye Anjaneyamati Patalanam Kanchanadra Kamaniya Vigraham Parijata Talamula Vasanam Avehami Avamananandanam Yatra Yatra Gunata Kirtanam Tatra Tatra Katamastakanjalim Vashpavari Paripurna Lochanam Martinamat Rakshasantakam Bolo Bajranga Bali Hanuman Ki Jai. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So, you know, they say that what we just did is called the repetition of the names of God, divine name, sacred names. You know, when we call a name, somebody's name, somebody responds, whoever has that name, right? This is not that different. The only difference is the way you hear the response is in a way that we're not used to hearing. It's an intuitive knowing, intuitive awareness that opens up through the continued practice of calling out or calling in. Remember that prayer I read last night? They're talking about Shiva. In one part they say, oh, he looks like this, he looks like this. But then they say, but you know what? You can't see him with your eyes, you can't understand him with your mind, you can't find him with your body. He's beyond physical qualities. Beyond the ordinary means of cognition is a line that they use in all these texts. What does that mean? Well, let's talk about it in the ordinary means of cognition. It means you can't know it the way you know other things. You can't read it in a book, especially if you're a cat. Hello, kitty. So, what we're trying to do is develop this extraordinary means of cognition, of knowing. The problem is that we're stuck in the input that's coming from the senses and the thoughts that continue to run ad nauseum, obsessively, forever and ever. And there's not much we can do about that flow of thought, or not much you can do about the flow of input from the outside world, the so-called outside world. Where we do have a vote, though, and where is the only place that we hopefully someday will get a vote, is at this moment, at this very second, how we sit inside ourselves. That's what all your practice is doing. It's changing the way you sit inside yourself. But it's doing it under the radar. If you could understand it with your mind, it wouldn't be working. And that wouldn't be the real thing. This is beyond the ordinary means of understanding. So get used to the fact that no matter how much you study, no matter how much you think about it, no matter how much you believe you really understand what's going on, you don't. Nor will we ever. Because it's the understander, it's the one inside of us that's aware of all that stuff. And that's deeper than the stuff. So these names that we're singing are the names of that place within us. So through the constant repetition of the name, we move ourselves deeply, more deeply, little by little, into that place within us that is pure being, pure awareness, which is pure love, total rapture, unending bliss, because there's no place for it to end. It's our nature, it's who we are. One time I was doing a retreat and a woman raised her hand. She said, I just came from a Jewish weekend and they say you can't say the name of God. And I said, you're right, we can't. We're just pretending. And Maharaj used to say the same thing. He said, go on, sing your lying fake Ram Ram. One of these days you'll get it right once. Boom, you're out of here. So we're practicing to get it right only one time. That's it. That's all it'll take. What's going on over there? You okay? You having problems over there? You okay? Is it that important? You okay? Yeah. I can't hear you. Oh, yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. I can speak Hindi without help. Okay. I'll talk slower and pretend that I know what I'm saying. Um, where wasn't I? Oh, yeah. It must have worked. 'Cause if it works, you don't know it worked because boom, you're gone. When a kid's playing, the kid doesn't go like, "Wow, I'm really playing, huh? This is fantastic." No, they're totally into it. There's no self-consciousness, small s self-conscious. There's a small self right there. And so, but we can't eliminate all that stuff, all that thinking, all that self-referential dialogue through the direct application of force, of power onto it. We can't kill it because then the killer gets bigger. And how do you kill the killer? So what we do is we do practice, which from another angle, under the radar, thins out all that stuff little by little, makes it more first translucent, then it becomes transparent, and then it's gone. And then there's no separation between who you are, who you think you are, and who somebody else. See, everybody in this room, probably, and if not, please see me later. Everybody in this room thinks you are who you think you are, including me. 24/7, I think I'm me, right? The problem is that you think you're you, and that's a different me than the me I think I am. Underneath that level of difference, there's only one of us here. And that is Ram, that is Krishna, that's Shiva, that's Kali. That's the deeper, pure being. But you can't get there through this kind of energy or this kind of effort. Practice over time thins all that stuff out. It pulls energy out of all those reactions, out of all those emotional places we hide and the stuff we have stashed in the back, you know. When I first started to do therapy, you know, months and months went by, and finally I kind of reached in that little closet and I pulled out one little dark little thing and I kind of threw it up in the room, you know. And my therapist, like, didn't even notice. So I got a dump truck. And I started pulling that shit out of there as fast as I could. And it was fantastic. She didn't give a shit. She just said, "Oh, that's interesting." I later found out she was 40 times crazier than me, but that was okay. You have no idea. New York, right? Oh my God. But it's such a relief to be able to let go of all those secrets. And half of the secrets we don't even know we're carrying, the ways we judge ourselves, the way we limit ourselves, the way we hurt ourselves, the way we stop ourselves, the way we separate ourselves from everybody and everything, and from the very things we want. We don't let ourselves go for it. We don't open to it. We're afraid. Because we've been trained very well. This is not a mistake. The world has trained us very, very deeply to hate ourselves, to not love ourselves, to not feel we're worthy of love. We've been trained. It's not an accident. Our own karmas dumped us in this particular sphere, this loka, and we have been programmed by this place. It's not a physical place. It's a state of consciousness. So we have to deprogram ourselves, and spiritual practice is the only way. You cannot think yourself out of a prison that is made of thought. Every thought is the prison. You can't back in there enough with the thought to be beyond the thought. every thought is the present because I'm thinking that. The sense of self attaches to the thought and you think you're thinking. Next. Only through practice, which is the practice of constantly, gently, over time, releasing the thoughts again and again as we get caught, it develops it actually makes new neural pathways in the brain. They've proven that now. It's actually science. Can you imagine that? So every day, every time you sit down, every time you try to do an asana or sit down or release your mind from the flow of thought and try to concentrate on something, you're training yourself and creating new neural pathways in the brain, which little by little make it more easy and more natural to release that stuff and sit in yourself. Oh well, that's enough of me. Any questions? Anybody want to say anything? Okay, let's go on. No. Anybody? Oh, come on. Okay, there's somebody I could emotionally bluster into saying something. Hold on, wait, we're going to have a mic for you. I'm deaf and can't hear anybody.
So you seem to be alluding to meditation. I'm just curious what your meditation practice is. Is it TM?
TM, what does that mean?
Transcendental meditation.
Totally messed up?
Yes, transcendental meditation.
Oh, transcendental meditation. I see. No, that's not what I do. I just did it. We all did it together. Repetition of the name is meditation. Anything, truly, meditation means to remain in your natural state of being. Watch the mic there. Okay, we got it. Meditation, to be in a state of meditation means to be residing and living in your natural state. Your natural state, what's natural, who we are. How we get to that natural state, or how we recognize that natural state within. There's many different methods to that. Repetition of the name is one of those ways of doing it, and that's my main practice. Although I've done many other practices and do other practices too. But this is what I do the most. Some meditation practices say, well, nothing ever happened and no one's here, so just sit. Okay. Okay, I'm just sitting. Now what? So obviously we can't do that because the mind keeps working, the knees keep hurting, the stomach wants to be fed. Life has to go on and we get involved with that. So most of us need to pick something, to use some anchor to keep coming back to. With TM, it's a mantra. With this, these are mantras, the repetition, these names are mantras. There's all kinds of practice. You can watch the breath, you can feel the breath go in, all kinds of things. But they're all based on the fact that once you calm yourself, once you calm the waves on the surface of the ocean, you'll see the bottom of the ocean, your true nature. So it's all based on calming the mind in one way or another. Mostly. Does that answer your question? Was that a question?
Yes.
Yes. Praise the Lord.
Thank you.
You're outside. We can't put the mic outside. You have to come in. Don't sit in the Swami's chair. You'll be ejected right to the moon. Okay, you have a question? Who's next? Okay, so, all right, you're next, okay? Hi.
Hi.
You don't have to stand up.
Okay, I'll go back down.
No, you better, no, okay.
I just want to know, what are the biggest lessons you've learned in your life and that you could share with us today?
There's only one thing you need to do, one thing you need to know. Keep breathing. Period. Eventually, everything changes. No matter what you're stuck in, as long as you keep breathing, it will change. course, if you stop breathing, it'll change too. But maybe not the way you were hoping. Just keep, stay in the game. Don't give up. Sometimes you get to places where the whole bottom falls out, it feels like. And you don't know who you are. You don't know what's going on. You're on a black hole. Take it from me, it changes. Just keep breathing. One of the problems is we have such tight judgment of what should be going on, what we should be feeling, that if we're fucked up, all of a sudden we've ruined everything, we've lost everything, we'll never be okay again, blah, 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 right? Luckily, that's not true. Everything changes. The darkest night, there's a dawn at the end of the darkest night, every time. But at the end of the brightest day, there's also a dark night. So you have to kind of flow with it. But we're not trained that way. That's what spiritual practice is about, to train us to be with whatever is without flipping out, without getting totally lost in the bliss of the sunshine or totally lost in the depth of despair of the night. They both come, they both go, Unfortunately, that's the way it is. You can't hold on to pleasant feelings. It's impossible. First of all, it's like trying to build a house on quicksand. Most of us, our emotional being is like quicksand. You put anything in there, it sinks. So how can we build something on top of that? We have to recognize what's going on and sometimes we just have to grit our teeth and live through it. Watch TV, go to movies, get drunk, do something. Change it. But it's so hard, we judge ourselves so harshly, On the other hand, try to remember, try to notice as you're in the depths of despair that you're still here. Sometimes that's, one time I was in a room with Maharaji. It's a long story. We trailed him to Bombay and followed him, and we found him, and so we were in this hotel room, and then we were in an apartment building with him. And I was sitting with him all day in this room, and he was lying on the bed. He'd sit up, he'd lie down, he'd sit up, he'd lie down, he'd sit up, he'd lie down. And hours went by, and I just doing my practice was this. That was my practice, staring at him. All of a sudden, he sits up, and he gets this really intense look on his face, and he looks at me and he says, "Courage is a really big thing." What's gonna happen? So this Indian guy goes, "Oh, Baba, but God takes care of his devotees." Courage is a really big thing. Holy shit. And I'll tell you the truth. The truth is really, there have been times in my life where all I had was the remembering of what he said. I didn't have any courage. I was finished. I was gone. It was over. But I just remembered that, him saying that, right? And that was enough to keep me from going down the cliff for good, So you find a way to do it. Think of what you've already gone through in your life. You've already gone through so much, and you're still here. Maybe it won't be so bad from here on in. You don't know. But, we tend to project the worst possible future there could ever be. So, and we're good at that. Maybe we're too good at that. So, that's one of the reasons they call spiritual practice mind training. Because right now our minds are Our thoughts are running in these channels they pretty much always run in, with no interference from us. They just keep running in those same channels. Push a button, boom, this happens. Push this button, that happens, right? Boom, we get no vote. We have to find a way to get a vote. And I wish I could remember this quote. Anyway, the past you can't change, the future is not here yet. Right now, which is always right now, wherever you are at any time, it's right now. That's when you could get a vote, right? And I'm a believer that you do what you have to do to get through the night, by the way. Some people say, oh, you can't do this, you can't do that, you shouldn't take medications, you shouldn't do these kind of things. That's what I say. Do whatever you have to do to get through the night, because it's your life. You do what you have to do, and things change. If Bruce Springsteen can take fucking medication for depression, anybody can, right? 15 years he's been on antidepressants. Can you believe that? I'm totally shocked. So if he can, you know, and he's God, anybody can. So I used to take antidepressants, but they didn't really work. One time I actually jumped out of the car on the Long Island Expressway. My father was driving me to my shrink. And I jumped out of the car on the thruway. Terrific. I think I needed some stronger meds. That was a long time ago, when I still cared about myself. That way. Eventually, you don't give a shit how you feel. Really. I tell you, as time goes on, how I feel about myself right now, there's other things to do besides obsess about myself. That's how we've been trained, to think everything's about me all the time. It actually isn't. But we have to know that in here, not here. We have to know that in here. And that's what happens as we ripen. Spiritual practice is a ripening experience. It's not a learning experience. Learning is learning. That's one thing. It's okay. But ripening is a different thing. We are like fruits. And through practice, we expose ourselves to the sun of love. And that sunlight of love ripens us and makes us sweet. Right now, we are sour inside to ourselves. So how do we get sweet? Through practice and through understanding what the path is really all about. Okay?
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, they'll bring it to you. Yeah. Let yourself be served.
It was so wonderful coming to. I just arrived and you were chanting and it's just thank you.
Yeah.
Maybe I shouldn't.
You're right in front. Move back a little bit, maybe. Actually,
Okay.
Away from the speaker. Okay.
So I'm just struggling with all the injustices in the world and what one does and doesn't do, and you know, there's a suffering within, and then there's witnessing the suffering without, and maybe it's the same answer as you just gave. Keep breathing, chanting,
It'll work.
and meditating. But if there's any thoughts that you have, which are probably the problem, around how to negotiate through
Well,
this world.
you came here, right? You came here. That's doing something, because when you come to a place like this, you're exposed to a new way of living inside of your own being, and you get training in a way to see things in a different way. I'll tell this story again, since you weren't here yesterday. The Dalai Lama. Somebody asked me, he said, "Your Holiness, do you have peace of mind?" You know, and he said, "Well, the Chinese have taken my country. I had to escape. They've slaughtered millions of my people. We're living in exile. We're dependent on charity just to exist. Should I let them take my peace of mind also? This is really a big thing. We don't have, there's very little we can do in the world, no matter how active we are, to actually change the world. Whatever we want to do, we can do. But the most important thing is finding your own peace of mind and then keeping that as you act in the world. If you act out of anger or out of fear, out of all that stuff, which we do all the time, it's just creating more of those karmas. So whatever you do, you try to do it in the best way you can, according to your own understanding of what that means, right? If you're a soldier, it would mean shooting very straight, because that's what your job is, that's what you're supposed to do in certain situations. If you're somebody like us, it might mean something else. It will mean something else. But whatever it is, you have to be true to yourself. You have to pay attention to your own actions. What's your motivation? If you're angry at other people for not being who you think they should be, well, get angry at yourself for thinking like that, and then give that up. You know, whatever you do, the Maharaj used to say, do whatever you do, but don't throw anybody out of your heart. That's great advice. The problem is we're not even in our own hearts most of the time, you know. We're kind of locked out of our own hearts. So we can't even really relate to what do you mean, I should love those people, whoever those people are? Everybody will have those people. They'll be different people, but they're the same people. Others, right? So the more practice you do, the more you see that everybody's own actions creates karmas that they will have to live through themselves, creates suffering for themselves and others. Do we want to participate in the creation of more suffering for ourselves and others? Not even those others, but what about the people we love and care about? We don't want to make more suffering for them. So the understanding is that anything we do with attachment or need or greed or selfishness or fear or shame or anger creates karmas. Now, sometimes we can't avoid that because that's where we live. But we should be aware of it as much as we can. And you may not give money to the drunk who's lying in the street, but you don't have to kick him as you walk by. There's a big difference there. So it all comes down to paying attention to your own stuff and doing some practice which helps you pay attention and helps you release your emotional clinging to your own stuff and your own reactions to your own stuff, so you can act more clearly and effectively in the world. But there's no place where there won't be suffering. Not out there, not in here. There's always something. It's the nature of this world. Nothing can be enough forever. Pleasure turns into pain. Pain turns into pleasure. Back and forth. Fame turns into shame. Shame turns back to fame. Loss turns into gain. Gain turns into loss. Love, human love, turns into hate. Hate turns back to love. Again and again, up and down. That's what this is. That's what this world is. This world is the pairs of opposites. Everything has its opposite here. We want to cling to the pleasure, but we can't. We can't. It can't always be that one moment when you fall in love and you're like, 10 minutes later, it's something else, if you're lucky. So, and recognizing these things, it's not depressing, really. It's reality. When you deal with reality, then reality doesn't deal with you. If you don't deal with reality, all you do is get pushed around all the time. If we don't see the shadows behind us, they push us around. So we need to get the strength to see those shadows in our life. Hey, you don't have to, okay? You really don't have to. Don't. See what happens. Eventually, there'll be moments when you recognize that these things are true, that everything they write in these funny books is actually true. Then you get motivated from a deeper place. For instance, Maharaji never told me to go forth and spread the gospel of Ram Nam anywhere. He never said that. He never told me to go sing with people. I had to sing with people to save my ass. It was just like that. It came to that point. And you will have many points like that in your life where you recognize, if I don't do something, I'm not going to be able to change this. The good news is there's lots to do. There's many ways of approaching these issues and these moments in our life where we feel very stuck and very hurt and very vulnerable and very weak. There's a lot out there available to us. And we should familiarize ourselves with these things, which is why you're here. Okay? Thank you. Thank you. Maharaji never told us what to do. He knew that until we did it in a way that we had to, it wouldn't be good enough. If he had told me to go out and sing with people, it wouldn't be the same. But I'm singing for my life every time I open my mouth. So that's why it works for me, and that's what people feel when we sing together. Unless you get nauseous and stuff like that. I had to find what I had to do for myself. And it took me, by the way, 21 years after he died to start singing with people. Some of you aren't even 21 years old. That's how stubborn I am. And slow and stupid. So I hope it doesn't take you that long. Maybe just 20 years. Yeah.
How did we end up in a dualistic mindset, a dualistic world?
We haven't ended up. Next question. We got born here. How did we get born here? Nobody knows. Our own karmas, our own impulses to be born in a body, to satisfy the needs of the body and the emotions, to have a body to experience things in a certain kind of way. Unfinished karmas, unfinished desires, unfinished longings. That's why we have human bodies, because in a human body you have certain experiences that we crave, those experiences. And this world is essentially dualistic in nature, meaning that you think you're you and I think I'm me. And there is this, which is always here, but we don't see that. So,
But how did it come to be?
how the hell do I know? Are you really asking me that question? In the beginning, God said, Noah, build me a boat. Hey, what do you have? No, I don't know. You know, there's the creation, in the Rig Veda, the first Veda, right? The Rig Veda, the number one big-time Veda. There's a hymn called the Creation Hymn, right? This is what you're talking about. And it goes on, starts in the beginning, there was this, and this, and this, and this, and it goes through this whole delineation of the way form manifested out of the formless, right? And then it says, and how did this, what impelled this? How did this happen? And then it says, Only he in highest heaven knows. Or perhaps he doesn't. It really says that in the Vedas. If those guys couldn't figure it out, come on, give us a break here. Right? It's not, we can never know these things. But if you want to know how you're doing, look around and see how you live in the world. See who you are. See how you live in the world, how you live your life, how you live in yourself. How many friends, how many enemies, how many things left undone, how much longing you have to get this or get that. See yourself, and then you'll see why you're here. It's very simple. But where it all first came from, they say, in the beginning, the Father uttered one word. Okay, this is St. John of the Cross. In the beginning, the Father uttered one word, okay? That supreme being, the Parabrahman, out of that silence, out of that formless thing came the first sound of Om, the beginning, the from Om. The first word was sounded, the vibration that created the whole universe. That vibration, everything, the universe is all vibration. Out of that, in the beginning, the Father uttered one word. And he utters, and that word is his Son. He says, St. John on the Cross, and he utters him forever in everlasting silence. And it is in silence that the heart must hear. So that's how it happened. In the beginning, the Father uttered one word. That word is his Son. The Son is what connects the formless and the form. Hanuman, Christ, all the avatars are that energy that that connects the formless and the form. The Father uttered one word, that word is his Son. And he utters him forever. This is constantly vibrating in everlasting silence. This vibration, this universe is surrounded, it's infused, there's silence all through it. Silence is the absence of thought. It's not the killing of thought. You can't kill a thought. Where did it come from? Where did it go? But it's when thoughts no longer arise, when there's no karmas left to create. What Buddha said when he entered into his enlightenment, the demon Mara, which is ego, said to him, okay, maybe you're enlightened, but there's no witness, so nobody will know. So he touched the earth. He said, the earth is my witness. You will know. He said, oh, house builder, ego, you will build no more houses for me. So these houses being built for us, by us, are all the me's we have, all the ways we think about ourselves, all the definitions we have of who I am, and blah, blah, blah all the time. And the way this practice of chanting the names of God works, by the way, it takes that action and it rolls it back this way. It's like a wave that came in this way. Now the wave's going back out, back into the ocean. And it goes like every repetition of the name is a seed that gets planted in our mind stream, in our heart stream, in our life stream. Every repetition of these mantras is a seed that we're planting. Those seeds will grow as certain causes and conditions arise. Those seeds will grow. Maybe not right this second, because like Maharaji said, if I said Ram the right way, boom, right? But I didn't, obviously. We're still here. Hi. So every repetition of one of these names is a seed. And these seeds will grow. And Ramakrishna said, the saint from the 1800s said, it's like the seeds get caught up on the roof of an old house in the middle of nowhere, in the jungle, right? Between the tiles of this old house. And then as the seasons come and go, the tiles get softened by the rain and the wind and the snow and the sun. And then those seeds can take root. The seeds of the name that we have repeated can take root, and they grow, and they destroy the roof of the house. And they keep growing, and they destroy the walls of the house. So the whole house is destroyed by the seeds we planted that have grown. Ramakrishna says that house is who we think we are, who we constantly think. We keep creating this me with our thoughts. But as this house is destroyed, the house of me is destroyed by the repetition of the name, there's only being. There's no more me and others, in and out, self and others. There's only the one. There's no more separation. The walls of the house and the roof of the house are gone from the repetition of the name. Now, it doesn't happen like that, but it happens over time because we're in time. We live in time, and here we plant the seeds that will free us from living and being confined to this structure of me that separates everything, you from me and the inside from the outside. And then it's not that you disappear, you're everywhere. You've become everything. You don't lose anything except a lot of suffering. But don't expect it to happen today or tomorrow. You have to commit to living in a way that supports these practices, that supports this goal-less goal. Is that too intense? It is for me. I wish I knew what I was talking about. Anybody? Yeah. She's the boss. You got to pay her. Who's got the money? Oh, okay. You. Yep. Good.
Kirtan.
Wait, it's not working.
How's that? That's cutting out. I have a question about Kirtan politics.
Kirtan politics.
I know that's an oxymoron.
You should talk to the president of Kirtan then. I don't know who that is.
When I was introduced to Kirtan, I didn't know.
Maybe we need a battery? No, it's just cutting out. Hold it closer to your mouth.
So when I was introduced to
No, something's wrong, Kev. That's what the only thing's wrong is you were introduced to Kirtan. You should never have been introduced to Kirtan. Quick, get out while you can. Because you're planting seeds. They're going to make you watch less television, I promise. Watch out.
I think it's working.
Okay.
So anyway, it was very moving the first time I did it, and but I really didn't know the names of any of the deities.
Mm-hmm.
So as we move,
Yep.
oh, there we go. Maybe I'm not supposed to ask the question. So
Must be.
So back home we have Kirtan, and the question has come up, especially for newcomers, as how important is
I'm a newcomer. What are you? I consider myself a newcomer. I've only been doing this 40 years. You know, people have been doing this for like thousands of lifetimes. 40 years is nothing. Go ahead.
Okay, so as a relative newcomer then.
Now you're talking about relatives. That's a problem.
Where?
Okay, I'm going to let you ask your question. Go ahead. If the microphone lets you.
So, newcomers, do you have any comments with respect to introducing the names of the deity before the chanting. Because what I like to do is, for an hour without any, crosstalk or talk, is go right into 3 or 4 mantras. And so do you find that it's helpful for newcomers to really understand or know the names of or meanings of the deities?
I've been doing this 40 fucking years. I still don't understand what I'm doing, and you're asking me about trying to help a newcomer. Do I know what Shiva is or Ram? No. I don't. Do you? If you do, let me know. We have ideas about it. We read about it in books. People tell us this and that. I have no direct experience to tell you, yes, that's Ram, right? So that's, that's a load of bullshit, Just sing, be happy, and kick those newcomers out.
Perfect. My girlfriend's not going to like that answer.
Oh, too bad. Well, kick her out. There needs to be, first of all, you wouldn't have come if your karmas didn't bring you there in the first place, number one. Second of all, there needs a little bit of understanding of how the practice works is useful. Now, many people share this practice in different ways. Some people, you have to read 40 books before they let you say Ram Ram. I can't read that much. So I sing, and everything comes from inside. You can't know what these beings are if you don't know who you are. I don't know who I am. How am I going to know how anything else is? But when I do know who I am, then I'll know that. So that kind of learning, I don't feel is very useful to doing practice. It's useful to the mind. It keeps you out of trouble. You can't rob banks and kick people in the street when you're home reading books about this shit. So that's good. However, as far as helping you go deeper into your heart, it's not very useful. Because then you're thinking about it. Oh, yeah. And then an hour of chanting goes by and you haven't been there for 2 seconds thinking about all you've learned about it. So that's why the way I share this practice is the way I do this practice. I sing, and when I notice I'm not paying attention or haven't been paying attention for the last half hour, I come back. And then another half hour goes by, and I go, oh, shit, I haven't been, okay, stop. That's also a thought, Ram. I keep coming back. That's all I can do. I can't make understanding blossom like a flower in my heart. All I can do is come back from Nunu land when I'm gone. And if you really think about it, you can't do that either. We don't come back. We're singing, and then we notice we haven't been paying attention. How did we notice? We already came back. You already noticed. And if you noticed, that means you're paying attention. At that moment, you dedicate yourself back to the name again, to the repetition of the name. And you might be able to spend 13 millionths of a second on that name before you're gone again. And that's a big thing. This is not easy. It might be simple, but it's not easy. And it doesn't matter whether it's Ram or Krishna or Shiva or a turtle in the mud. If you're paying attention, that's the main thing. Everything will come from inside. But once again, if you've come to this kind of situation in the first place, a certain longing has brought you there. A certain desire to find something has brought you there. So you already understand the basic reason to do practice. I don't think there's anything more required. When you die and take your last breath, you're not going to be thinking about shit that you read 40 years before. It's going to be how present you are in that moment that's important. So be present now, which we're trying to do, but it's not so easy. So studying is good. It helps us gather our forces. It helps us kind of draw our life in together and find a good direction to go in. But when it comes to practice, paying attention is the key. And that means you notice when you're not paying attention, and then when you're paying attention, you're just doing it. Then you notice you're not paying attention. And the time that you're gone gets shorter and shorter as you practice, over years, okay? There's no quick fixes. Well, they are, but they don't last. So, I really believe that. And even in India, when we were there with Maharaji, he didn't make us Hindus. He didn't initiate us in anything. He didn't make us wear the same clothes. He didn't test us on whether we knew what color Ram is and which hand he held his bow and arrow in. There was none of that. Right? So why would I, not that there aren't practices that involve visualization and stuff like that, because visualization helps you focus. So that's fine. So whatever gets you through the night is what it comes down to. If your girlfriend wants to read, go to the movies while she's reading, and then come home. Maybe she'll be there. Next victim. Hi.
You had mentioned that it took you 21 years before you figured out that this was what you needed to do for you.
I didn't get figured out. I got hit on the head with a hammer.
I'm curious what that experience was like, how you finally realized.
Well, no, really, it was like a let me see. I got hit with this, like a lightning bolt of understanding that if I did not sing with people, and it was with people, I would never be able to clean out the dark corners of my own heart. And the understanding was that it's only the dark stuff in the corners that was causing me suffering and unhappiness. And that chanting with people was the only way I had to clean that shit out. So I apologize to you. I've been using you all these years, and I will continue to use you to help me. So there's nothing you can do about that except go away. And you can't. This is an island. I'll find you. So that's what it was. Just, I was really, really in terrible despair and very depressed. It was horrible. I was paralyzed. It was terrible. And I walked from one room in the house to the other room, and it was like, it took me a while to get with the program. I wasn't like, oh, now I'll go do it. No, it was like, oh, shit, I have to do that. But I knew it. Once you know something, it's like waking up in the middle of the night. Yeah, I'm awake. No, I'm sleeping. Yeah, I'm really sleeping. No, I'm awake. You know it. You can't pretend you don't know it. And then it was either get with the program or sink. So that's what it was like.
I was asked to ask a follow-up question, and how old were you when this realization occurred?
Well, let's see. I have to figure it out. I don't know. It was in 1994. So I was 47. See, most people start touring and doing this shit when they're 18, and they're finished by the time they're 30. I started at 47. By the time I'm finished, I'll be in my next life. So I was 47.
Thank you.
That's how stupid I am. That's how long it took me to get with the program. But I've been in so many different programs, and but I had stopped singing because I felt there was no reason to sing anymore. Maharaji was gone. It was an emotional issue for me. I was attached to his body, and his body was gone, and I wasn't going to feel him if he left me. He could, But then I realized, who's suffering? Me, not him. So I had to get with the program. Yeah.
Could you speak about how faith guided you on this process?
Well, faith is what I know is Maharaji. I was with him. A lot of people know him who haven't been with him physically, but I was. And so, regardless of how I felt about things or about myself or I understood that there really is that love in the world. I may not be feeling it, but I know there is that love in the world. It exists. And that's what I would call my faith. It's not blind faith. I've experienced that. And so no matter how screwed up I get or depressed or angry or lost, that I still know that. Right? There's that knowing of that. And the implication is that if it's in the world, maybe someday, I'll really find it. But at least I know it's in the world and it's possible to find. So that gives me the confidence that my life will bring me there. So that's what I would call faith. But that's just the way it worked for me. I always say to people, people say, oh, they want to be with the Guru. I said, the reason we were with Maharaj is because we were the ones who weren't going to make it if he didn't drag us over there in the first place. Not everybody needs that. So it's silly to long, it's not silly, but it's not useful to long for something that you have no control over. Everyone has Guru. Everyone knows what love is. Everyone wants the same thing already. You can pretend you want, it's not going to work unless, I get that or I get that, but that you're just tripping yourself up. You know what love is, you know what you want to feel, go for it. Don't let anything stop you. You may not know how it's going to manifest, but everybody knows what they want. They may describe it differently, but it's the same thing. We want to live in our true being. We want to be freed from the pain, the anguish, the suffering, the betrayals, the longing that can't be fulfilled in the world. We want to be freed from that and live in our true nature, which is love, which is truth. And everybody wants that. But not everybody's doing things that will allow that to manifest so easily in their hearts, in their lives. So, like I was telling you about George Bush and the ladies, the widows, right? Were you there yesterday when I was telling that? No. So, in the old days, there was a president we used to think was bad. Wish he'd come back. So I hated this guy, So I was watching CNN or something, and I saw him walking. There was a live broadcast of him on his way to meet with the first group of widows from the Iraq War. There were like 30 women in this room waiting for Mr. President, right? And they show the cameras. They show him walking down the hallway, the president with his entourage and the Secret Service, and he's walking, and the cameras are following him. I'm going to go. And he walks into this room and he looks at these women and he breaks out crying like a baby. Like a baby, he was crying. I was really pissed off. I couldn't hate him anymore. His own actions, just like the actions of so many people, create more and more and more suffering. Not only for himself, but for so many people. And he knows no other way to live. There's no hope in his life. There's no understanding of what real happiness is. And he's just creating more and more suffering for himself and so many people. That elicits compassion. Naturally. We don't want to see people suffer. Okay. There's a few people I wouldn't mind hurting a little bit once in a while, but, I don't really want to see them suffer when it comes down to it. So, it's a terrible situation. I couldn't hate him anymore because he wants just what I want. But right now, he's doing the stuff that's taking him so far away from it. Not just himself and all these other people. So we all want the same thing. And if we're here in this environment, we're already doing so much to allow that to happen, allow that to manifest in our lives. It's really incredible. I mean, think about it. There's billions of people in the world, and not many people are looking for some kind of deep understanding, a deep realization of what life is really all about. Either they don't have the time, or there's bombs dropping, or there's no food, or they're being thrown out of one country and forced to swim for their lives. I mean, they don't have an option to just sit and go like this. We do, because of our own karmas. We earned this with our own good actions and our own spiritual longing in the past. We've earned this. It's not like we deserve it because we're better. No, we just earned this. Somebody turned us on in some lifetime, and we've been following this path for a while. It's not because we're better or different than anybody. So let's take advantage of this moment while we're here. Being here is an interesting concept. So that's why we do practice. A little practice over time generates tremendous fruits, tremendous blessings in our lives. Give yourself some space. Give yourself some space to be stupid. It's okay to be lazy. It's okay to be screwed up. It's okay to be depressed. It's okay. Give yourself some room to live, because in that living fully, you'll then reach out more fully for a deeper thing inside. Yeah? Somebody?
You just addressed my...
Where are you? Don't stand up. Okay, hi.
Just addressed my kind of comment question.
Uh-huh.
Because when you said, I'm so stupid that it took me this long to
What is
discover...
that?
Like,
Yeah.
took you that long. But the way that I kind of see it, and I guess from my own experience, and one thing that I've realized since being here is that the hard times or the suffering that I've experienced has only made me stronger to be able to have empathy and compassion for other people.
Yeah.
And then once I forgive, then I'm able to move forward and really help people in a deeper way.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, I've thought there's something wrong with me and that kind of thing, but I just think it makes for a deeper, more empathetic person. And I think that you're brilliant and
Yeah, well, of course.
And beautiful, and what you can something special.
Thank you. But, I just want to point out something. So right now you're in a very nice space. You're able to appreciate all the work you've done and all the hard times you've gone through, and you feel good about yourself, right? That may not last. This is what we're talking about, okay? We're not talking about fantasy land here. We're talking about real life. That feeling you have, which is wonderful, may not last. And in fact, the chances are, something's going to happen, and you'll be depressed again. That also won't last, right? So enjoy this, really enjoy this. You deserve this. This is the fruit of your work on yourself. This is a wonderful feeling. Don't be surprised and hurt and betrayed and angry and pissed off when this passes. It's okay that it passes. It's supposed to pass. What's not passing is that you're here now, and in that when sometime might come in the future you might not feel so good, you're still here.
Yeah, and my question is, when you're going to go to do a show...
A show? You mean a burlesque show or something?
A kirtan, or you're going to be with
show.
people and sing, and you don't feel like it, or you're...
Yeah, those are the greatest moments. I love that.
How do you get through that?
I just sing. What I feel isn't... Who gives a shit what I feel? I don't give a shit what I feel. I sing. This is practice. Once I start singing, I do this so much that letting go muscle just kicks in. I start singing, and then anything I'm feeling, thinking, wondering about, pissed off about, the pain in my knee, the pain in my back, it just becomes something to let go of really quickly because I'm singing. These are the deepest moments for me. These are the moments when I'm most alone with God, when I'm singing with 90 million people. It's amazing. So that's what happens when practice gets strong and you develop the habit of doing it. When you've developed the habit of practice, then you don't indulge in all that self-centered, self-referential kind of thinking about yourself all the time. You're used to doing practice. You sit down, boom, it goes away. It may come back at the end of the last Om, but for that period of time, you've been released from that. It's become the object of your meditation. You let go. Again and again and again. That's all. And gradually, you're no longer sitting in that stuff all the time. You're sitting over here. So when that stuff shows up, it's like, you're here again? Go away. And then you don't live there as much of the time. There's a shift that goes on as time goes on from practice. The practice gets stronger. For right now, doing practice is like going to the dentist, you know. Of course, nitrous is fun. But this dentist doesn't even give Novocaine. You have to just sit there like this. Eventually, you get to a slightly deeper feeling about it, where you recognize this is the moment where you can let go. You're able to let go. This is the moment that your life has set up for you to sit here and release all that stuff. Yeah, it'll come back. So what? Right now, you can release. You can let go. Let go means not pushing away. Let go means letting it be as it is without judging yourself, without banging yourself on the head about it. It means just being with it as it is, letting it be. As you develop that ability, then you feel good, you feel bad. You know, okay, there is a difference, but it doesn't mean so much after a while. Our own fascination with how am I feeling now, it just kind of fades. You don't care so much. You don't care that I don't feel so good today. It doesn't bother you that much. It doesn't bother you that you don't feel good. I don't feel good. Big deal. So, you know, it's kind of how it goes. More?
Can we sing?
If you praise me a little bit more, maybe we could sing. No, I'm just kidding. What time is it? All right, well, let's talk a little bit more if you want to talk. Talking is good because we see we're all just as fucked up as the person next to us. It's amazing. It's so liberating a feeling to see that you're not the only one who has this shit in their heads. Somebody, where's that?
Over here.
Hi.
Hi. At the risk of sounding crazy, I want to ask a question about clairvoyance and psychedelics. I had an experience a couple of years ago. Had a bunch of psychedelics experiences, and ever since I've been.
Come on, it was last week.
Voices.
Tell the truth.
It was actually voices 42 on a daily basis for a couple of years.
Tell them to shut the fuck up
and
and leave you alone.
Well, they're so interesting.
Nah. Well, that's why they're hanging around. Just ignore. Ignore.
Okay.
Ignore. It's not voices. It's just your own mind. There's nothing outside of your own mind. So ignore.
Right on.
I suggest that you ignore. That's your choice, you know. But when the voices tell you to walk into the ocean with lead weights around your thing, you'd probably be too late to ignore at that point.
It's like pointing out, like self-observation when I'm being.
Yeah, those aren't voices. Believe me, voices you'll know.
Yeah, I mean, I've had a range of experiences.
Yeah, this is what it is the psychedelics created like a barrier, a filmy like division between in your thought flow. So now you think you're different than what you're hearing. Really, those are just thoughts, but it changed the way you perceive those thoughts temporarily. So as if they're voices. It's just you. There's nobody outside. There's nobody in there except you. So if you want to go play this game with yourself, fine. But it's not healthy and it's not real. So, you know, it's up to you. You know, it's up to you. But in the long run, it's not useful for you to develop an attitude that you're hearing things that are coming from outside of you. Because then you might think that they know more than you, when really it's just your own thoughts. The mind is a very subtle, vast kind of space, and everything's in there. So, but it's all you. It's all you. And since you brought it up, I don't think it's healthy for you to do any more psychedelics.
Agreed, yeah.
Yeah, so don't.
Yeah.
Okay, because, not because it's bad, you know, but because it's obvious, and I appreciate the question and your honesty, because it's obvious that your psychological makeup is affected in a way that's not helpful for you with those psychedelics. It's a question of integration. You know, when I was in India in the old days with Maharaji, we'd hear these stories about other Westerners who'd gone to see this guru or that guru, and they would jump up and down and bark like dogs. All kinds of weird shit would happen, you know? And we would look at each other. We'd be sitting around with Maharaji for hours and hours, day after day. Nothing would happen. Nothing. It was like, have some tea. Wow. You know? Nothing would happen, but what was there was unbearable, endless love. There was no experience. There were none of these so-called kundalini. It was not real kundalini. It's fake kundalini. There was none of that. It was just love. It was love. And that's what we recognized, that let them jump up and down and bark like dogs, you know. I'm in love in the way I always wanted to be. This is it. I'm home, you know. It's the best feeling in the world. So give yourself a break, okay? And be good to yourself, which in this case would mean avoiding those type of chemical infusions into your psyche. I don't think it's healthy for you. But once again, you have apparent free will, so exercise it.
Thank you.
Yeah. I'm the last one to put psychedelics down. Okay? I was a blues guitarist, and then I took peyote. Now look at me. I'm a blues harmonium player. Big difference. So, but some people, and even with me, it was enough at some point, you know, I couldn't take it anymore. Great story, okay? So I went to my 50th high school reunion. Can you believe it? 50th high school reunion. Of course, I was only 2 in high school. And so there was this guy there who had been in high school with me, who also went to the same college I did. And it just so happened that I scored 10 hits of Sandoz LSD. Sandoz is the company that created LSD, and this is when it was still legal. 10,000 microgram capsules of pure LSD. And from this guy at college. And then 50 years went by and I never saw him, right? So I saw him and I said to him, hey man, you know that acid I got from you? When I took the first one, I was in school, I was going to classes, I had a job, I was playing basketball. By the 10th capsule, I was living alone in the mountains of Pennsylvania with my dog and my horse. And he looks at me and he said, the best thing I ever heard in my life. He says, man, that's amazing. I took thousands of hits and I never got off of Long Island. Praise the Lord, right? Holy shit. You You won't get off of Long Island, so watch yourself. Anybody else? Maharaji said LSD was yogi medicine. He called it the yogi medicine. He said it's good for beginners. It brings you into the room with Christ, but you can't stay. That's what he said. He said, you can't stay. The only way to stay is love. So he saw it in a completely non-judgmental way. And he said it's good for beginners. What he meant is that we in the West are so closed. We have so much crusty, encasings around us. To break through that is really difficult. And at that time, at that place, to those people who were with him at that moment, he said it was good for beginners because it just cracks that. Now, some people maybe can't ever put it back together, which is not a good thing. Other people can integrate it into their lives in a different way. Yeah. Hi.
There we go. Did you know as soon as you met Maharaji that he was your guru?
I knew even before I met him physically that he was my guru, yeah. I knew he was my guru. Well, the first time I met Ram Dass, when I walked into the room, I told this where he was sitting. I felt something. I intuitively understood immediately as I walked into that room that whatever it was I was looking for was real, it was in the world, and it could be found. After some time, I recognized that that was Maharaji. And when I finally met him physically for the first time, it was wonderful, but at the same time, I was trying to figure out how I get this huge being that's been with me for the previous 2 years into that little body. I couldn't figure it out. How do you do that? It was very like, how does that work? But, so yeah, I knew that, and I had a dream. I had only seen a little black and white picture of him, okay, that Ram Dass showed me. And then, this was back in America, 1969. I had this dream that I was in my public school gymnasium, where you had dances on rain days, like Hell World, right? So I was in my public school gymnasium, and I walked into the gym, and there was the stage on the other side of the room. And on the stage, there was a bench. We call it tucket in India. It's like a flat wood bench. And on the bench, Maharaji was sitting. And then there was a guy standing next to him who was dressed in a dhoti and a black vest. And I walked into the room, to the gym floor, and in the middle of the floor, I bowed down. I did a danda pranam, which is like full out on the floor like this, my head down. And I was just praying to him. I said, please, let me feel something. I have to feel something. Please, let me feel something. And in my mind's eye, I saw him get up and walk down the steps at the edge of the stage. And he walked over to me, and I'm still down like this. And he put his hand on the back of my head. And little by little, I started to calm down, slow down, and this bliss started to run through my body, right? And it got stronger and stronger and stronger. And I thought, I'm gonna fucking die. And just at that moment, he lifted his hand off of my head and went back to sit down, and then I woke up. 2 years later, 3 years later, now I'm in India, and I've been in India for like a year and a half. And I've been with him many times, but we were always invited into a room where he was already sitting. Or he would come out of this room and just sit right down on the tucket right there. The point is, I had never seen him walk in a year and a half, okay? The only time, okay. So then one day, I was late coming to the temple, And as I came into the courtyard, he was walking across the courtyard by himself. And I just stopped because he was walking. He had a very unusual walk, like a 2-year-old, bong, 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 like this, you know. He was walking the way he walked in my dream. I had never seen him walk in the whole year and a half I'd been in India with him. It wasn't a solid, you know, over a year and a half. And my mind just stopped. And and the next thing I know, I'm standing right in front of him, and he's back and hitting me on the head, and he's laughing. And I had these apples I was going to offer to him. I was just holding on to them like this. And he grabbed them, and he was laughing. He threw them to the people around, and he just goes like this, "These Westerners," and he walks around. So, yeah, you know, he was there. He came to see me before. And I had forgotten about the dream until I saw him walk that day. So, you know, time is really screws us up. But we're in time, so we have to deal with it. But these beings are not in time. They are present in the past, the future, and just right now. They can do anything. They're with us all the time, these great beings, our gurus, our teachers, the holders of the lineages that we're attached to, we're connected to, are always with us. We are not with them. In our minds, in our hearts, we're always there too. So our whole job is to get from here to here. That's it. Very simple. Not easy. Simple. Over there.
Hi.
Hi.
So what if you have a problem to where you have a bunch of family and a bunch of friends that are a bunch of George Bushes, and you don't want to go back home and deal with them, and you want to cut them all off and just pretend like they don't exist and live your own life? Do you do that, or do you try and cope with them and help, you know, your loved ones that you see suffering, or you go on about your dandy new realization of life and be happy?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, first of all, you can't be happy if you have all these unresolved issues. So there's nowhere you can go to be happy. You have to go right through the middle of your stuff. So the way to do that is kind of up to you. You know, I had this friend from Shaker Heights, Cleveland, Fred, who was like a reincarnated Zen master, right? He was unbelievable. We would sit together at the Zen Center in San Francisco, and we'd come out on the street, and one of those buses with all that diesel fuel, diesel exhaust, you know, he would just go, ah. He was insane. I mean, actually, he was later on put away. He's in some institution somewhere. But he said something that was fantastic. He said, when I go home to my little Jewish mother, and I'm a Buddhist, she hates it. But when I'm Buddha, she's very happy. So you become Buddha and everything will be fine. You know, politics is just politics, you know. Beings go through all kinds of shit in life. I think your issues with your family are family issues. It's not about that they're Trumpies.
Like, I had to lie, tell them that I voted, you know what I mean? Like, just for them to be...
You had to what?
I had to lie and say that I voted for the party that they wanted to vote for, just to like be cool with them.
I'm a believer in lying. I say lie whenever you can.
Yeah, sure, I voted for Trump.
Yeah, sure, lie.
I'm not even registered to
Tell
vote.
them you voted 2 times. Yeah.
All right, that works.
Yeah, no, lie your ass off. But love them when you're lying to them. You know, if you're lying to protect yourself, well, that's also good in certain situations. But you have nothing, first of all, what do we know? Do we know anything? Are we better than anybody? Do we have something to prove to other people, right?
Yeah, no.
No. So when you're happy, they'll be happy. You find a way to be happy in that situation, and keep working on yourself. And there's no reason to challenge people who have nothing to fall back on in life. They have no practice. They have no understanding of deeper realities of being. So there's no sense challenging them. When you become God, you'll see them that they're God too. So between now and then, it's going to be pretty rough at times. So be good to yourself and try not to create suffering. Get through life, try to get through life doing as little harm as you can to yourself and others. That's about the best most of us can do.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Hi.
There. So my question is concerning guru. So I've heard you say a couple of times everybody has a guru. Maybe you don't mean that literally, but I started seeking 20 years ago for my guru, and instead I found amazing teachers and access to bliss and love through lots of traditions. And
let me know where all is that. Where is that? I want some of that.
It's everywhere.
Oh, great.
Yeah, good news. It's here.
Okay.
Among other places. And so I've taken to saying that there are guru people and not guru people. Maybe that's just my way of giving myself the ease and comfort of being where I am and learning from what comes my way. And I'm curious about your opinion, if that's false or what you would say about that.
No, it's not false. It's not false. But, what you want is love. And you have this fantasy that when you meet your guru, everything will be just the way you want it to be. I'm sorry. It's not going to be like that. Look at me, right? I met my guru 40 years ago. I am still fucked up to the brim. What is that about? Problem is, I don't really care that much anymore. That's different. So get rid of that fantasy and be with the love that's inside of you right now. Guru, God, and self are not different things, right? What you want is to fall in love with somebody out there that you could say, this is my guru. When Maharaji died, I ran through the jungles. I almost killed myself running through the jungles, looking for him. And I would go to meet these babas in caves and stuff like that, and they would look at me and go, what's wrong with you? Your guru's looking out of your eyes right now. And I go run somewhere else. So the longing is good. The longing is what saves us. The longing is what moves us in the right direction. The fantasy you have about what the end of that, what you're longing for, is not it. It's the longing itself. That's the guru.
That resonates. Thanks.
What's that?
That's feels like truth to me. Thank you.
Wow, fantastic. Yeah, let's face it. We all long for that, for something, and it's the longing that pulls us towards finding that. That's what's saving us from the ocean of this world that we're swimming around in. That's what will save us. Yeah? Somebody? It's a translation situation. I feel stupid and contagious. And here we are now.
Okay, her question is if she thinks she has found her guru, but the guru lives on the other part of the world and she has children, etc., what should she do about that? When she even doesn't speak the same language as he does.
If she thinks the guru is outside of herself, she's mistaken. If she thinks the guru is a physical body, she's mistaken. If she thinks the guru feels that she's on the other side of the world from him or her, she's mistaken. Where is she feeling that guru? Right, that's where it is. Yeah, well, that's where the guru is. It may look like the guru's out there, but the guru doesn't think that. And when in devotional yoga, the feeling of separation is treasured. Because that feeling of separation is really a connection. We may not see it that way, but it's very powerful, seed inside us that's feeling separated from our lover or our beloved, whether it's a guru or a physical being. When you feel separated from your lover, what else are you thinking about? Right? You're surrounded by the thoughts and feeling of your lover. The lover's not far away, it's right here, but you're attached to the physical body. With a guru, that just doesn't work. It's just not true. The guru is not a physical body. The guru might be living in one temporarily, just like you are, but the guru knows that there's no difference between the two of you. So, okay? Please don't think that a guru is a physical being. A guru is not a physical being. Because we're physical, we see it as physical, but the guru, him or herself, is not identified or limited by their physical body. They're present within our own hearts. And they lead us from within, not from outside. Program is running, and there's nowhere to go to change that. We're being pulled into our own being, which is the guru, which is God, which is our true self. And so when we're chanting these names, we are moving right towards just that place that we want to be. These names are the names of that place within us, which unfortunately we don't have time to do today. But I hope you'll be here tonight. We will sing tonight. I promise I won't talk. Okay? We're finished. Namaste. Thank you.